Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, we are going to be talking about all about this dream job situation that I recently mentioned. So probably about a month ago, I did a video entitled something like jumping on the Great Resignation bandwagon and quitting my job. And so it's probably now time that we talk about that. I have gotten a number of questions about what my dream job is and all of that. So I figured I would spill all of the tea. I'm actually drinking tea. I wasn't, I don't plan my videos at all. So that was not intentional, but no pun intended. But I thought that I would spill all of the tea today regarding my dream job, how I came upon it, all of that good stuff. So if that is of interest to you, then please keep watching. Okay, so I do have to say I've done a couple of videos already about my career path and field and all of that. So I will have those videos either linked up above or down below, or maybe even both. So you can, catch up on all of that. No need to rehash all of that, I don't think. So today we're just gonna talk about my dream job. And I wanna tell you if this job is giving dream job vibes or not. I've been working this job for exactly 2 weeks. Yesterday was Friday, so that would have been my second full week. And yeah, I just want to talk all about it and my experience thus far. Okay, so let's talk about my dream job. So if you would have asked me 10 years ago, like 20-year-old Shay, what her dream job was, she would probably say working in the social work profession or the helping profession in education. I will say that I did go on, throughout my 20s to kind of learn what population I enjoy working with most. And I do have to say, I am through and through the person who should be working with children, preferably like teenagers or preteen. I feel like I help them most because that's what it's about. It's not really about me, it's really about like them and how I'm connecting, in this field. It's about how you're connecting to clients and patients, and the hope is that they will gain something from it. So I just feel like I connect with them best. And so it really just makes sense for me to serve that population best. So my dream job up until now would have been working in education and working with teenagers. I'm talking 13 to 17. That might be because my first job out of college that I really loved and did really well was working with 13 to 17-year-olds. But I don't know, that's just really who I really enjoy working with. I like working with the little ones, which I've done. I like working with adults and, stuff like that. But I just really feel like I serve that population best. And so, yeah, that would have been, when I talk about dream job, that is what I am talking about. Education, because given my upbringing, it's really kind of wild that I would go on to graduate high school with honors and to receive a scholarship. So I didn't have to pay for tuition while I was enrolled in college full time and maintaining a certain GPA, of course. It's kind of wild that I would graduate once and be the first person in my family to graduate and to graduate with honors and then go on to get a master's degree and then graduate again and, with honors. So I don't know. I just really feel like odds were for sure stacked against me. I don't know how I was as resilient as I was. I get that question a lot, but I'm here. I made it here. And I want to talk a lot more about that maybe in the future. I was getting suggestions for videos on Instagram and somebody mentioned that maybe I should talk about, or just gave me a suggestion on talking about kind of like mental health and financial wealth and all of that, and how I have been able to kind of navigate this world and do this as a as a first generation person, to do all of those different things, to prioritize mental health and be in a good place mentally and to be in a good place financially and to prioritize that. So I was like, you know what, friend, I don't know this person, but friend, because I call everybody friend, that's a good idea. I feel like, here's the thing, I feel like if I go there, I'm really going to go there. I really feel like that would be probably the one, I don't know, I feel like it's always been something that I definitely should be talking about. But the one thing that if I start talking about that, I don't see myself coming back from it. I feel like it's going to be, it's just going to be I don't want to say what my niche then becomes, but I feel like it's going to be pretty serious. But I love that idea. And I love that somebody shared that because, again, I've kind of just not talked about it. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot to say, so maybe I should start saying it. I don't know. I feel like I could just do sit down videos like this every day, all day, but I don't. But I could. I think the issue is when something's really, you know, on my mind, I'm never at home, or I'm normally at work, on the way to work or something. I'm never like in a place where I can just sit down and word vomit, and then by the time I'm ready to word vomit, I just know it's probably, the delivery probably isn't going to be the same. The passion isn't going to be there. It would just be like kind of strange. But anyway, good suggestion. And I just always knew that, I just always thought it was real interesting how I did so well academically, even when the odds were stacked against me, and I'm talking lots of odds. And I just thought that, I don't know, it's just why I've always had this love for education, and this love or idea that I really would do best working in education and working with kiddos in education. I hope you guys are enjoying the chill vibes. I said that I was going to start doing videos, like literally dropping the camera in my element. Like whatever vibe I'm on, that's the vibe that I'm going to portray on camera. It takes a lot less work to do that. I just literally set up the camera and plop down, and I can just talk. This is my second video like this, but it's been so much easier than trying to get the perfect lighting and all of that. So I already had a candle burning. I drink tea. I like tea. I'm not a coffee person. I'm really not a tea person, but like if I'm gonna drink one of the two, it's gonna be tea. It's not that regular. I drink like 1 cup of tea per month, probably 1 cup of coffee per month, but I love tea and I want to get into tea. But yeah, it's just a chill vibe. It snowed yesterday, and anyway, I am hoping you guys are enjoying this chill vibe that I have going on, you know, and that I've invited you guys into. Dream job, that would have been my dream job, and so I found it, and so let's talk about it. So as we all know, my husband entered the school system as an educator this past school year, this current school year technically, so back in like July when school started. And honestly, I was really inspired by that, because he has always wanted to work as like a health teacher or PE teacher or something like that in education. And so I think we are on the are operating on the same frequency when it comes to just wanting to try and go forth and doing something that we've always wanted to do. We're kind of into that thing. I don't know. But anyway, so he went for it, and I was kind of inspired by that. I was quite inspired by that. So I started looking for jobs more purposefully. I was already scrolling Indeed and all of that anyway, and had been for a while, but I never really was like looking in the school system and all of that type of stuff. So back in November, I saw this job and I was like, what? This is basically like, there's no part in this. You know how sometimes there are jobs where you might qualify, like you could potentially qualify sort of kind of if you maybe get a certification or do this or that, or there are some job duties that you maybe haven't done but could do. That wasn't the case for me. Everything about the job description I felt like was catered and tailored to me and my skills. And I was like, well, if ever I'm gonna get a job, this one has to be it, because when it comes time to interview, well, I feel confidently about, you know, even applying for it. And then whenever it's time to interview, I'm certainly gonna knock it out of the park, because I can do all of these things and have been doing these things for years, just not in the education system. So this is November. I applied for the job. I did ask for some questions on Instagram about this dream job situation, and I remembered one. I remember a lot of them. I have them also in my phone, but one of them was, what credential did one need for this job? And you needed to have a license of some sort. So you could be a licensed professional counselor, a licensed social worker, you could be a couple of other things. I think you could be a guidance counselor. Actually, you could do that. You could have some degree in psychology. Basically, you had to be licensed or credentialed, but I'm looking at it now. I pulled it up because why do this video if I'm just gonna be guessing? So master's degree in social work, psychology, or counseling. Just what I said. It is desirable to have experience in providing counseling services to children in a school or mental health facility setting. Knowledge of behavioral interventions and community resources is necessary. Certificates, licenses, registrations, state licensure in social work, or LPC. So there's that. But I will say that my coworkers were saying that guidance counselors were doing this job at one point not long ago. So I don't know if they changed the credentials or you could slide in if you are a guidance counselor. I guess it depends on what, you know, what background you have as a guidance counselor. I don't know. But anyway, those are the certificates and licenses and backgrounds and all of that they were looking for. So again, this is back in November. So I applied to the job. I got a call back probably the next week or some kind of email or something about an interview, and actually I recognized the name of the interviewer, so I really felt confident going into the interview, and I was offered the job probably a few days after that. This was back in November. So I went ahead and I accepted the position, and now I am out here in these streets counseling kiddos. So I will say that there are different programs within the education system or the district, and so me and my coworkers, so there are 4 of us. Apparently there were more in the past. Sometimes there were fewer, but right now there are 5 of us. What did I say? Yeah, me and 4 others. There were 3 before December when me and someone else got hired. So lost my train of thought. But anyway, there are different departments, you know, like special education department or, you know, so on and so forth. And so we are under one specific program. So we're counselors under that specific program. And so let me tell you what we do. Again, dream job vibes. So there are like 170 kids or something like that who need our services. And these kids are, let's say, unique in that the services that they need are literally counseling services. So we don't do like guidance counselor work. We don't do, you know, school counselor work, whatever that might look like. We actually don't even do school social work. We literally do social, help children to build up their social and emotional development, and we meet with them one-on-one to do that in session. So counseling, therapy, if you will, that is what we do. There happens to be like a number of kids at each school, and like as an example, at one of my schools, I have like 15 kids. So I spent a lot of time there. But anyway, we have divided up all of those. So I have 7 schools, and I think my other coworkers have like 7 schools, because keep in mind, there aren't that many kids. 170 isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. One of my schools, there are 1,600 kids just at that school. And we're talking 42 schools. So 170 kids, 42 schools that are divided up between the 5 of us. And if you break that down further, we each have like 30 something, 40 something kids on our caseload. But I will say that not every kid meets with us directly. We don't have to meet with each kid directly. Some receive indirect services, which might include just checking in with their teacher or something like that. But yeah, we're not just working with like any random kid in the school or anything like that. These children are referred to the program because they do need help with their social and emotional development, which might, if you don't know what that is, I'm assuming anybody watching this video would know, but if you don't know what that is, it's really just, for a lot of them, I'm not even gonna say what that is. I will say for a lot of them, it really comes down to how they're handling stress and how they're managing their frustrations and their anger and all of that. And oftentimes there is a struggle there, and they may be, you know, demonstrating some frustration, some anger, or some other disruptive type of behavior in the classroom, which then warrants a referral from either a teacher or a guidance counselor or whomever. So those 170 kids, that's like a really filtered population, and those kids make up our caseload. We do not just meet with any kid in any random school. So let's talk about my first week and my second week. So when it comes to a dream job, I guess what I'm saying is I didn't really know what that really was. I just knew like me using my skills in the education system. Now, guidance counseling and all of that would likely not be for me, because I feel like there's a real focus on education, which is all well and good because there should be. It's school. However, I don't think that there are some things that I think in life, they don't even really matter unless other things are taken care of. So as an example, if a child is struggling with demonstrating appropriate coping skills, well, certainly they're not going to be able to sit in the classroom all day and learn. That's preventing them from doing that. So the educational piece and, you know, their cognitive development, if you will, kind of just comes second to their social and emotional development. in a lot of cases. First week, I went to orientation. All we talked about all day is retirement and benefits and all of that, which I'm here for. Obviously, I was all ears, but we did that all day. The next day, and really for the rest of the first week, I actually shadowed various coworkers. And then this past week, the week that just ended, Monday, we didn't have school because it was a holiday, Martin Luther King holiday. And then Friday, we went virtual because we were supposed to have some treacherous weather here in Georgia, and so we closed. So I really was only, out in the streets doing my job for 3 days. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was left to, do my own thing. I learned during that week, this past week, that my supervisor was out of town. I actually hadn't heard from him since last week. So I was just doing my own thing. I got this in the bag. I really don't need anybody to walk me through this. But I guess it would have been helpful to know, that my emails were going to be kicked back or whatever because my supervisor was out of town. So I just kind of reached out to my coworkers, and they have been super helpful. So if we're going to talk about, the 3 days that I was working, I actually have so many kids at one school, like I mentioned, that I decided to spend 2 days there, and I have an office there. So I spent all day Tuesday there and all day Thursday there. And then I actually have another school where I have a lot of kids as well, like a day's worth of kids. So I spent the day there, and I kind of just shared the space that I think the school psychologists would have been in had they been there. But typically school psychologists manage different schools as well, so they're kind of, popping up just like me. So I was able to kind of use that space to see my kiddos. So I probably saw, let's say on average 5 per day. I was hoping to see more, but I couldn't. Some of the kids I couldn't find, they were absent and, might not have even been in the program anymore. So I probably saw I want to say maybe 15, 20 kids in those 3 days. And I'm thinking that I'm going to try to see all my kids in each week. So I'll probably be seeing double that or somewhere. Yeah, my intention is to see 30 kids or so per week. I don't know the exact amount of kids that I have, but I plan to see them all weekly. Or some kids I'll see every other week. That's another thing. Some will actually be every other week now that I think about it. But most of them, let's say I have 35 kids, 33 of them will be seen weekly. So that was my first week. It was pretty simple. I had got a lot of training the previous week, so I kind of knew all the systems. There are so many systems to log in and look at attendance and incidents and this and that and the third within the school system. So that's a little hectic, but I've learned those systems. I feel confident. I'd say the biggest hurdle was organizing my caseload, because I'm if this kid's here, this one's there. There are times in the day, specific times when they want us to see the kids. As you can imagine, they want us to see them not when they're doing, not when they're in one of their core classes like math, but rather in PE or chorus or some of the other classes like that. So that was the hardest thing for me. It was actually quite overwhelming. Thankfully, my coworker helped to organize my caseload, but it was kind of difficult trying to figure out okay, well, thankfully there are 3 days out the week where I will essentially be at one location and be stationary all day. But then there are other kids who are at different locations, different schools, and they're there. It might be 2 at this school, but then there might be a school up the way because I'm in the same area where there might be another 2 kids or another 1 kid. So kind of organizing that was interesting. I presume whenever I have a full week next week, I'll be able to really see, kind of map it all out and figure it all out. I've only been to 2 facilities, 2 schools so far. And like I mentioned, I have 7, although I don't have kids at every school. I think I have kids at 5 of the schools, maybe 6. So I still haven't been there to kind of see, what's what. So yeah, that's pretty much how my first week went. So is this a dream job? 100%. I knew when I sat down, I went and got one of my kids. I walked to classroom to get them. I'm getting 8,000, 9,000 steps per day at work, which is kind of wild. Like, it's a lot. So I walked to get the kid on my first kid that I ever saw. I went to get the kid, brought the kid back to my office. We sat and talked, and he was like, let me just tell you why we're here, basically, is what he said to me. Because sometimes there might be, an incident where they might, where the referral might come into play. Other times there might be multiple incidents or whatever. So he was like, let me just tell you what happened. So he told me all that happened, and we kind of talked through that. And, what I've been working on so far is with some kids, some of them are more easy. Some of them warm up a little bit more easier. So we've been able to do a little bit of work. Like one of the kids, I was with that kid for 30 minutes because that's how long I'm supposed to be with her. And so we talked about positive decision making. We talked about consequences of our actions. We talked about like the future and, a little bit of like confidence building, self-esteem type things. And we covered a little bit of everything in 30 minutes. I guess that's another thing that I should mention. Most of the kids we're only seeing for like 15-20 minutes. These are kids after all. The older ones, we can hold their attention longer. But for the little ones, 15-20 minutes is about appropriate. So we don't see these kids for that long. In fact, one kid I think I'm supposed to see for 40 minutes, which is actually the longest amount of time. And that's like it just seems like a very long time whenever most of them are at like 15-20 minutes. So all of that to say, what I love so far is being able to meet one-on-one, especially for a shorter amount of time with the kiddos and helping work through their social and emotional issues and, helping them with that. And another thing that I really, really, really enjoy is the fact that there's virtually no paperwork. The referral goes to our supervisor, technically. He figures out where the kid is, and then he assigns the kid to us based on the school that they attend and based on the schools that we're assigned, and then we pick up there, but there's pretty much no paperwork. Last week I happened to be at a school where one of my because coming in new, I was like, let me get situated with the kids that are already receiving services, and then I'll start making my way down my referral list. But I noticed when I was looking at the school that I was at, it was a middle school, I noticed that I had a referral there. So I'm like, let me just begin the process and go ahead and, get it rolling. And so I did observe a kid in a couple of their classrooms at that school. But honestly, I have an iPad now. My coworker emailed me the observation form, and honestly, I just filled out the observation form on my iPad. Of course, one could do it on paper, but honestly, everything's electronic. The referral process is electronic. Everything is electronic. So like I said, so far I filled out technically 2 observation forms since I observed in 2 different areas. And then what we're supposed to do is log the services. But when I tell you, if you work in my field, you know what a note can look like after seeing a client. And especially if it's gonna, for insurance purposes, especially Medicaid, because they got a lot going on. But this note is like 3 sentences long. Met with such and such, talked about confidence building and such, and that's it. No real format. There's no format at all. And then that's it. Here for it. So back to the original question, is this my dream job? I would say that currently, I will have to say that currently this is my dream job. Why? Because it pays the most, it has the best benefits and insurance and all of that. It's the easiest job that I've ever had. Like, this job is cake. Now, it's because I've built up my skill set and now this job is easy. It might not be easy for, actually one of my coworkers, the other lady who was just hired, she just graduated with her master's and got her license. So this job might be a little overwhelming to her, but for me, it's literally a cakewalk. Like, so easy. Plus I get all my steps. It's really a win-win. So currently I have to say that in this season of my life, this is a dream job. Now I'm gonna tell you what's gonna make it dreamier, sis. Whenever summer rolls around and I'm off of work and my husband is off of work and we're home for the summer, it's gonna be real dreamy. Also, I started in January, so like Christmas breaks and Thanksgiving breaks and spring breaks and all these breaks and all that. It's gonna be really great to be working. Technically, I only work half of the year. Like there are 365 days in a year, but I actually only am contracted to work half of the days of the year, basically. So that's gonna be real dreamy. So I'm excited for that, which honestly, that's another reason why I've always wanted to work in education, so I can have more days off, because who wants to be working Monday through Friday each week? Not me. I'm looking at questions that I had. I've pretty much answered all of them because I kind of memorized them and made sure that they were going to be a part of my, speech here today. Someone asked what I consider it to be: macro, meso, or micro work. So fun fact, I actually took the macro track in grad school because it just seemed right, but I've been doing micro work for the past 10 years. So I would honestly consider this to be like kind of like all three, sort of kind of. I mean, it's not like macro, but like it's a little bit of all three in a grand scheme of things. But my actual work with the kiddos is obviously micro. Someone asked, what feeling do I have at the end of my work day? I have to say, it's relief, but that's always been the case. Whether I've loved the job or been ready to leave the job, I'm always happy to come home. Y'all know how I feel about home. I feel like my real work is at home. And by that, I mean, like, again, like I was mentioning earlier, sure, when I'm helping people, it feels good for me, but really it's for their benefit. And so, yeah, for me to like evolve and grow and all of that, I feel like the things that I would do to do those things, like let's say exercise to lose weight, I'm gonna do that at home. Although now I'm walking a lot at work, so I really don't even have to, literally I don't even have to exercise when I get home, because I know that just walking at home, up and down the steps of the evening, I will actually hit my 10,000 step goal. But anyway, the feeling that I have is relief, but it's definitely a different kind of relief. It's kind of like, I feel good knowing that I've had such good conversation and done such good work with so many different kids and clients, because that's a lot. I mean, to see like 8 kids in a day is a lot, but very much doable when you're doing it for 15-20 minutes per kid. But I definitely feel a sigh of relief and like I've done good work when I leave every day. Someone asked if I'm in higher education. Obviously, I am not. So there's that. But I've always felt like maybe I would want to work in higher education. So I do have to say, currently this is my dream job, but I don't know if this is like the end all be all. I feel like I might know and figure out if I want to do or work in higher education if I become like, let's say, an adjunct professor or something like that. So I don't know. I currently have no interest, but who knows? Now that I've actually started, do I think that I will stay at this job until retirement? That's a good question, because I would say that I certainly could, especially if my husband is working in education. I feel like it's a simple enough and chill enough job for me to do for the next 10 years until I'm 40. But I guess I really can't say if I certainly will. Y'all know me, I'm like a go with the flow. In 3 years, if there's some kind of opportunity that pops up and I'm like, man, that's a good opportunity, I'm gonna go for it. So as of right now though, I have no intentions of leaving, anytime soon. Someone asked about the average salary. Honestly, again, I didn't know that such a role existed. So I don't know like how it compares to other schools. Again, I've never heard of this, and I've worked in 4 different states so far. But I'm looking now and it says that if you started out on step 0, which is basically no experience, then technically your pay would be $65,096, but there's some kind of like formula and calculation and all of that they do based on your experience and blah blah blah, but that is what it's showing here when I'm looking at the salary scale. I think those are pretty much all the questions. All the others I'm confident that I actually addressed or answered in this video, so I don't have to keep reading off a bunch of questions and answering questions that I've already answered. But if you have any questions, definitely leave them down below in the comment section. I will for sure get to them. I was just thinking as I was wrapping up this video that One thing that I want to mention is that my previous supervisor, because you know I just quit my job, so that would be my previous well, actually, it's gonna be my previous because my current supervisor's last day is in a couple weeks, or maybe next week or something. And I learned that in orientation when I got my email. I saw his resignation that he sent to all of us. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So anyway, one of my previous supervisors, she is actually a school social worker, and I was talking to her maybe like last summer or something, and she was telling me about it. And it definitely, like, I thought that that might be something that I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be like a guidance counselor. Again, I don't care for that approach. I feel like my skill set and what I bring to the table is more clinical, I guess. And so I knew guidance counseling and all of that was out, but I kind of was entertaining the idea of school social work until I learned about what school social workers do. So in my district, we don't have school social workers. Well, I've never seen any or heard of them, but in the district where my previous supervisor works, there are school social workers, and lots of them, and they have a lot of different schools, and they have a lot of different kids because they are dealing with like truancy and all of that. I think she said her caseload was like 94, 95, 100, like it was a bunch of kids, but that's because they didn't do any real direct clinical work with the kids. They just kind of went and, you know, kind of checked in to with their parent maybe, or they went to, you know, kind of to see why there are truancy issues, or they went to court and all this other type of stuff, which I knew I didn't want to do that, especially after hearing her talk about that. So I knew school social work and school guidance counselor were both out of the picture. So yeah, I just didn't know that such a job actually existed, but here I am and I love it. So that is it for today's video. All the deets regarding my dream job. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below in the comment section. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to hear more. Give me suggestions on videos that I can film about, you know, my career and all of that. I definitely want to film a day in the life. Okay guys, so that is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.